and welcome to Create with Shannon, brought to you on behalf of the Fuquay-Varina Art Center. Today we're going to be talking about a method of creating that I get a lot of questions about, and we're going to explore everything that you need to know in order to get started with stamping. So join me in the studio and let's talk about what you need to enjoy this wonderful type of crafting. All right, welcome. So first things first, there are a lot of different stamp types and there are a lot of different stamp companies. Now you can purchase your stamps online through many different stamp companies, or you can go to your local crafting store and generally find lots of great options to get you started. Now you have options from wooden stamps to clear stamps. And let me tell you a little bit about the difference. So ultimately with a wood stamp, you've got a wood block and it's going to show you what the type of stamp is, your stamped image here. And then it's a rubber stamp on the other side. And this is what you're going to use to press into your ink to transfer your image. This is a way that you can have a lot more stamps in a lot less space. This is the clear or acrylic type stamps, and ultimately they come in a set and you can peel them off and use them. But you might be thinking, well, how do you use a stamp that doesn't have a back? And that's where these acrylic blocks come in. And you can then mount your clear stamp to the acrylic block and use that then to stamp your image using your ink and transfer the image to something else. So I've brought a couple of different opportunities for us to look at today as far as the different stamps that are available. This one is from the company Ranger, and I just love this handwriting, this hand lettering, and they're nice and large. So if you're putting together a card or a greeting, ultimately it takes up a lot of room and it packs a pretty big impact. Now this sweet little set is from a company called My Favorite Things, and this is the Magical Dragons set. It is also a clear stamp set, so you'll need to use acrylic blocks for these. And most companies that sell these clear stamps will also offer the opportunity to be able to purchase these acrylic blocks. You can also generally find these at your local craft stores in multiple sizes, because as you see, there are some stamps that are pretty small. Look at that cute little guy. He's really small. He would work on one of these smaller blocks like this. But one of the larger stamps, that's going to fall off this. It's not going to fit on it very well. And so that's where this size might become very handy to have. And I actually have other stamps that are even larger, like this one from Stampin' Up. Now, this is also a rubber stamp, but you use it with an acrylic block. And so I would need to have even a larger acrylic block and to be able to mount this. And then I store it right back here in its case. And then this is a retired Stampin' Up set, but this is the way that some wooden block stamps come together and allows you to get a whole suite of stamps. And this is little birds, and I just love little birds, so it makes sense that I have little bird stamps. All right, so once you've chosen the type of stamp that you want to use, you also are going to need some paper. And ultimately, I generally go for 100-pound bright white cardstock. And if I'm making something, this generally works in most applications. There are some other types of specialty paper that you can use, but while you're first getting started, this is a great weight and a great color to get started with, and then you can add on from there if you want to have some different color papers or different pattern papers. You're also going to need to have some kind of paper trimmer. So this is the one that I generally have at hand that I use most often. This is a We Are Memory Keepers little guillotine paper shredder, or paper cutter rather. And I got this at one of the local craft stores. You do not have to buy a specialty for this. But great, what you can do is you can simply line this up, and it's got the guard here. And it'll just cut your paper smoothly and evenly with no kind of tearing on the ends. That's perfect. Now you can get larger paper cutters, but this one serves most of my needs, and I usually grab this first. Now, if I'm using a big 12 by 12 sheet of designer paper or something of that nature, I will need a larger paper cutter in order to be able to take care of that. However, this one serves me very well and can help us get started. All right, so outside of that, you've got stamps, you've got paper, you've got a cutter, and you've got your acrylic blocks. Now you need some ink. And ink comes in multiple different varieties from different companies and all kinds of colors. And ultimately, you need to start out with a basic black. And I use Memento Tuxedo Black almost for everything. It's fade resistant. It resists smudging and things of that nature, especially when we're on regular grip paper like I just showed you. If you get on the smoother papers and things like that, there are some other products that are generally better that will stick a little bit more. But ultimately, this is a fabulous entry level, use it forever black ink pad. And the way that this works is you're simply going to take the stamp, you're going to place it on your acrylic block if you're using one that is a cling stamp, and then you're just going to press it into your ink. And I always take a look at it and see what the ink is looking like. Maybe just give it a couple of more places. I'm going to move this up, make sure everybody can see it. And then I'm just going to go to my paper and kiss it. And I'm just going to rub it across the top without moving it. And then there's my image transferred. It's like a little kiss on the paper. So sweet. Now, I've also got other colors here. This comes in a set. These are little, what I call trial colors because they're small, but they're great to travel with. And they're also great if you don't need, I might not need a whole bunch of grape jelly ink all the time. But for me, this is perfect because I can then take this, it's small, and then I simply bring it to my stamp. And I can press that in just like this. Cap it up, bring it to my paper, kiss it. And there it is in purple. Oh, you know what we're going to do while we're here? We're going to ink this up with this teal. This came in a set together, all four of these together. And the colors go so beautifully together. So this is it's called Teal Zeal. I'm going to line this up. Kiss it. Yeah. This is Lilac Posies. Ink this up again. And then kiss the paper after I line it up. Ah, it's so cute. I see something starting. I can send this to somebody in a few minutes. That's amazing. And then the last one, this is called Gray Flannel. And it's really nice to have a nice gray around, especially if you want to explore things like no-line coloring and things of that nature. And maybe we'll get into that in another video. But ultimately, I know a lot of people ask me about getting started in stamping and what kind of investment you need to make and what are the things that you need. And the honest truth is, guys, you don't need a whole lot. You just need to get enough so that you can get in there and get started and see what you like and see what speaks to you. And it might take a little bit of time in order to be able to get that started, but ultimately you'll find what your preference is. You'll find what you, what I call your own personal style. And it's so fun just to be able to get into it and explore it. Now, this is another kind of Ranger product. This is by Tim Holtz, and he's a designer, and he puts together stamps and accessories, and he does these Distress Oxide inks, and these are really cool. They have really great color, but ultimately they're fantabulous for, you see on the top here where it looks a little distressed? It's not quite so saturated with color as these are. Well, ultimately what you can do with these is you can distress them and you can blend them out. You can splash water on them. You can do all kinds of fun things with the distress inks. So if you come across a product that looks like this, That's what that is, and we'll play with blending some on a video as well. Now the last thing that you might need is maybe a pair of good scissors in order to be able to cut things out if necessary, but generally I go to my paper cutter, my guillotine, most of the time. And you're also going to need some adhesive. Now you've seen me use a tape runner before. I use the Tombow, Tombow Mono permanent adhesive. It comes in a few different colors and a few different there are some that are permanent, some that are removable, things of that nature. But this is ultimately my favorite. I also have the Tombow Multi-Mono liquid glue that comes. It has a nice small end, and then it has the larger end on it for when I need liquid glue. And then this guy, this is by Zig Memory System, and it is called two-way glue. It is a squeeze and roll product, and ultimately it's like a little pin, and it just puts out a little tiny bit of glue when you need it. And I find myself going to this a lot too, especially when I have detailed things that I need to glue and attach. But ultimately, that's it. What we're going to do is I'd love to be able to set you up so that you've got confidence and you can play with these products, and that we can come back together and start creating with them. So I think what I'm going to do today is I'm going to use what we just stamped together for this intro video. Let's make something. Stand by. Okay. All right, so we're going to take our stamped image. I've got some of this awesome, gosh, it's like an orchid color paper. And I've also grabbed my paper pack from My Favorite Things, and this is called Fun in the Sun, and it's just a little package of 6x6 designer printed paper, and I think we're going to use this. Oh, I'm excited. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I've taken this sheet, and this is actually out of my scraps. So I've recently done a card using this color, and so this was just half of an 8.5 by 11 sheet. So if you were using a full sheet, this would be cut down at 5.5 inches. And then I'm just going to fold it over here. So create a little card out of it. And then I always try to use some kind of hard edge in order to be able to give that a really nice crease. You do not have to get a fancy product for that. Sometimes I'll use whatever's lying around, like this stamp right here. All right, so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to cut out my thank yous. And we're going to take our paper cutter, and I'm going to move our ink out of the way. Good. And then I'm just going to line this up. So this is about, what is that, 2 3/4 inches. Make sure it's straight and then take it out. And you got to be nice and confident with your cuts. This is about 3 3/4. Actually, I'm going to pull that down to 3 5/8. Here we go. And let's see how that's looking. All right, I need a little bit taken off on this side here, so we're going to flip that over, put that in. Yeah, we're just going to eyeball this. That looks pretty good. That's at about 2 5/8. Oh yeah, that looks great. And then we need a little bit off the top here. And that's going to be at 2 and... Nope, that's at 3 3/8. Perfect. All right, then we're going to take our designer paper here because it goes so beautifully with our card. These colors really work well together. And I just need to eyeball this a little bit and see how I want this to go. I think I might keep it kind of small and tight to it. All right, so I'm gonna use this to help me line up. And I'm gonna put this in at 3 1/4. Excellent. And then at 4. Yeah, I really like that. That's sweet. Then I'm going to take my roller adhesive, And I'm simply going to put some tape on the back of my thank you stamps. And then I'm going to line it back up in the center of my designer paper. And pro tip, get one side down and then adhere the whole thing. Put the whole thing together then. And then I'm simply going to line this up on my orchid paper in the middle here. All right, so a little bit more tape on the tape runner. Line that up in the middle. Okay. I'm going to put a panel on the inside. So this dresses up and finishes the card, but it also gives it a little bit more stability and makes it more thick. So I'm going to take my tape runner and put some tape on the back. I'm going to line it up here inside the card. Okay, and then I'm going to take a little look. All right. So the next thing that I think I need to do is put just a little something on here. So I'm going to go look through my accessories and we're going to add the finishing touch. Be right back. Okay, I think I found it. So a friend of mine had given me some of these little flowers. They're paper flowers and they were pressed out or something. They're already textured and they're shaped. So I just think that this looks really sweet and finishes this off very nicely. So I'm going to take a little bit of my liquid glue and I'm going to press that right here on the back of this flower. So I can get it to come out. Okay. And I'm going to set it right in. Right here offset. Now I'm going to take this second flower. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to take a little bit of glue and put it right here in the center. And then I'm just going to offset this a little bit. And then just press it in. Just gently. And let that dry. And when it dries, everything is going to dry nice and clear and clean. And then I've got this one as well. And I'm just going to place this up here in the corner. I'm going to put a little bit of a spot of glue right there. Oops. And then attach it here. And there she is. A lovely thank you card using stamps and some pretty paper. So not very different than things that we've done together before. But I did simply want to take the opportunity to introduce you to stamps. Maybe you'd like to explore them as well. So a couple of other projects that I have done using stamps. Brought a couple for you. This is all stamps. And I took a marker and did this border around it. This is a stamp. This is a stamp. All these came together and then I put little sequins in the middle of those stamps. And that is just a sweet little card. That's one of my favorites. This is a sympathy card, so this was all done with stamps as well, and we did a little bit of embossing here, and we can learn how to do that together as well. But this is a stunning background card, and I just took a little slip of ribbon and put a nice touch of red there. This was all done with stamps as well. The little birthday girl on some printed designer paper. And then this one, this is all cutting things out. And then one stamp. That's it. So just cut out a whole bunch of long triangles for the sun. And then I have one die cut that will cut a perfect circle. And so I use that. And if you guys are interested, I'll teach you how to use die cuts as well. That's really nice for cutting out things like this kind of stamp. There are some that actually come, and I actually cut this out with my own scissors, but there are some stamp sets that come with dies that will actually cut these out for you using a die cutting machine. And it's a little bit of an investment, but quite frankly, it's a real luxury to have. And then there are some that it's just all words that it will cut out for you. I think I've actually got one here as I was looking for my accessories. Yeah, so there's an example of a word that I die cut out of orange paper with this sweet little thanks die. And then the last thing that I wanted to share with you, look at this cute little food truck. This is a stamp, and I colored it using alcohol markers, and I can then use this on another project to be able to create a birthday card or some kind of celebratory card. And ultimately, I need to tell you about my favorite markers. So you can use any kind of marker when you are stamping, but if you'll see here, you see the nice blending effect that we were able to get on her dress and all of the different kind of layers and depth to that. Well, that's the use of alcohol markers. And my favorite is the Copic sketch marker. And this is what it looks like. And ultimately it has two tips to it. And you use the fine tip, or you can use the blunt tip, the larger tip. And these, because they're alcohol, they blend together. And they're fantastic to work with. And we can look at teaching us how to color using alcohol markers as well. But ultimately, here's what we created today. We introduced us to stamping and the wonderful world that is stamping, and I'm just so glad to be back with you. I hope that you have a wonderful afternoon, and I will look forward to seeing you the next time. Until then, happy creating.